Okay, good morning, everybody. So last week we had Mike Dunn here talking about which we just talked about, a listing presentation, what to say, the listing presentation, what to bring with you, how to prepare for it, and how to get the listing contract signed. So now that you have all that, you have the listing contract signed, what do you do? And the first thing that I would say is like, do you go to Disneyland now that you've got it signed? No, you have a lot of work to do, right? So we're gonna cover that. We're gonna summarize, we're gonna talk about the pre-listing and preparation tasks, listing presentation tips, and so we'll go over a little bit of that, and then post-listing agreement tasks. So after you get the listing contract signed, what do you do? And for the pre-listing preparation and tasks, we're going to contact the sign company, order signs, order for sale signs and open house signs. So you want to have all that ready even before you get the listing. Because what if they're ready to go live that same day or the next day? You have to make sure you have those signs ready. These could take between 1 to 2 weeks after you order them to receive them. So make sure that when you order them, they say Coldwell Banker Platinum Properties. The sign company that we use is RESS Signs. That's their website, RESS4signs.com. And I think the default signs for Coldwell Banker that they have are Coldwell Banker Realty or Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage or something like that. So when they send you the proof after you place your order, and it doesn't say Coldwell Banker Platinum Properties, email them back or give them a call, make sure they correct it, and they send you the proof where it says Coldwell Banker Platinum Properties. And make sure you get for sale signs and open house signs. And just to make it clear, the for sale signs, they don't say for sale. It's just a big sign that says Coldwell Banker Platinum Properties, your name, your DRA license number, and your phone number. And then they sell separate sign writers that are probably about, I don't know, 6 inches to 8 inches tall by the width of the sign that say for sale, or for lease, or in escrow, or for rent, or whatever. There's different ones that you can buy that you can attach to it. So in addition to the signs, you're going to purchase the sign post, and then the sign post for the open house signs too. But yeah, any questions on that? So it's important that you have this. All right, let's go. Next is make sure that you purchase a lockbox. This is what the lockbox looks like. And subscribe to the Super E-Key. And the way you subscribe to it is you download the app from the App Store, Super E-Key, and then you're going to call Orange County Realtors, OCAR, and ask them to sign you up. So it's a subscription-based service where I think you pay $13, $14 a month, something like that, $15 a month, whatever it is, for access to it. And they just charge your credit card every month, but that way you have access to it. So make sure you have that downloaded because you're going to need to open lockboxes, right? So then you're going to add the lockbox to your Supra account. So you're going to go onto the Supra website and create an account. And then when you create that account, it'll allow you to add a lockbox to that account. And each lockbox has a serial number on the side. And then that's how it connects to it. So you can program the property address to that lockbox through this website. So you can tell it what property address it's associated with, that lockbox. So that way, when someone views the property, it tells you, it sends you an email, says, hey, this agent is viewing your listing at 123 Main Street because they opened their lockbox at this time. So that way you keep track of these things. So that it's important to do that. You have plenty of time to do that, so. Any questions on this? Okay. So preparing the listing presentation summary. So obtain a property, remember, for the listing presentation, we're going back a little bit. We're gonna just touch on some of these things. Obtain a property profile from the title company and a realist tax report. So this is gonna help you identify who the owners of the property are, who the owner is or who the owners are, or if it's an individual or an entity. So it might be in a trust. And then if you have the realist tax report that you pulled up from the MLS, and it has one name as the owner, it's from the tax records, right? And then the property profile has a different name for the owner, then I would contact the title company to see if they can help sort out who the actual owners are, because there might be some documents in there that they have access to that'll tell you who the actual owners are. So that way, when you're sitting down on a listing presentation, you know that you're talking to the person that's gonna actually make the decisions, or is the signer, or is able to sell the property. Or maybe, when you're on the phone with them, say, hey, can you make sure that all signers are there? I know that it's in a trust and there's a couple of trustees, or it's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Smith, so can you, or will you both be at the listing presentation? So that's what that's helpful for. Go into the MLS and look for any comps, for that property. So you're gonna look for properties that are similar square footage, maybe do a search about 200 square feet less to 200 square feet more than the actual property. Look for properties that are around the same number of bedrooms. So if it's a 4-bedroom, look for 4 bedrooms. And then within the same tract. And if it's in a city that doesn't have tracts, then maybe go a half mile, quarter mile to a half mile around in that neighborhood and look for similarities. And those will be your comps. Prepare a CMA for the listing appointment. So after you find the comps that you're gonna use, you're gonna prepare the listing presentation of the CMA to present your findings to the seller as to why you think their property's worth this much, or just to educate them, right? Because Zillow's gonna tell them their property's worth one thing. They go to Redfin, it's gonna tell them their property's worth something else. And these are just RVM and AVM. They're just these computer generated values or valuations based on homes sold within a mile radius of that particular home. And it doesn't take into account, is it attached, is it detached, is it single family, is it condo, it doesn't take any of that into consideration. Where you as the agent are taking that into consideration. You're gonna compare a single family detached to a single family detached. You're not gonna add any condos into that. So that's why your information, your input is valuable. Zip forms, print out a blank listing listing agreement and take it to the appointment. So hopefully after you presented your findings, you've given your suggestions, maybe your recommendations on, maybe, declutter the house a little bit. Maybe add a little decor here, do something there, whatever it is. And they're comfortable enough with you, and you listen, most importantly, to what they have to say, why they're moving, what their timeline to move is, how much they want for their home, all these things. Remember, listening is key. So listen more than talking. Then they're probably ready to sign the listing contract. So you want to take that just in case. Any questions on this? Sure.
CMA.
Comparable market analysis.
Oh.
Yes, so it's pretty much a report where you take recent sales
Uh-huh.
and you come up with an average price per square foot, average price, average days on market. And then you look up any active listings, and it also gives you the same thing, where they priced at. So in this report, you can pull up active, pending, and sold, just to let them know, hey, there's their competition. There might be 4 listings currently in the neighborhood that are similar to your home, so you have some competition. This is what they're priced at. And look at how long they've been sitting on the market, right? They've been sitting on the market for 3 months, but look at how they're priced. There's some in escrow that they're pending. They were on the market for 5 days, and look where they priced it at. So it helps inform them as to like, hey, if you price it around this, it's gonna sell faster. If you price it higher, it's gonna sit on the market for 3 months, whatever it is, right? And then you're showing them the sold. So you should be comparing or suggesting a list price on what's active or pending. Use what's sold, right? Because those haven't closed yet, and you don't know what they're gonna close for, or you don't know what they're in escrow for. But you can inform them as to how much they were listed for before they went into escrow. Yes.
About the title, about the property. Title company should match their name with the real owner, right?
Yes.
With the legal name.
Yes.
Sometimes, like immigrants, they change their name, when they get the green card.
It's whatever's recorded on title.
Oh.
So whether they change their name after the fact, I honestly don't know, but whatever's recorded on title is that owner's name. So if they change their name to like an American name, and they haven't notified the recorder's office, that might be an issue. But as long as they have records of everything, I think that the title company will work with them
Mhm.
to make sure that everything's clear. But that's a good question. No one's ever asked that, so that's good. As long as there's a paper trail of everything that was changed and reported and they are who they say they are, then you should be fine. All right, so now the listing appointment. Now after you did all the preparations, you made all the preparations, now we're gonna summarize the listing appointment or presentation. So when you sit down with a client, you're gonna discuss the client's goals, pricing, timeline, move date. Pricing, what are they thinking as far as price? They might have a totally different price because their kids grew up there. So there's more value there, right? There's that personal attachment and it's worth $500,000 more than what the other sales, the recent sales are, because my kids were raised here and, oh, we added this to it and we added that to it, and it's like, that's not market value, that's emotional value, right? Timeline, are they moving out of state? Do they have another house ready? Do they need to sell this house and buy another house? So there's a lot of questions you're gonna have to ask them, right? Moving date, is there a specific date you need to move by, right? Maybe they start a new job somewhere on a certain date, or their kids start school on a certain date somewhere else. So these are the type of questions you want to talk about or discussions you want to have. You want to tour the property. So when you get to the property, walk around. I don't know why that came up after the fact on this, but you want to tour the property so that way you have an idea of what their upgrades are compared to, by now you should have already probably seen other properties in the neighborhood for sale and previewed them so you can compare them to this property. So if there are other properties on the market in that neighborhood, preview them before you go to your listing presentation. So tour the property, look at what their upgrades are, ask them questions if there's something new. Maybe they just had a new roof installed, when was it installed? Maybe they have new kitchen cabinets, how new are they, when were they installed? Right, you wanna ask these questions, so make notes, take notes along the tour, the property tour. Again, identify improvements of the property. Discuss the comparable properties. So after you've looked at the property, you talked about their goals, identified improvements of the property. Now you're gonna discuss the comparables with them. And again, this doesn't have to go in this particular order. Every presentation is gonna be a little bit different, but you can go in with an idea of how you wanna approach the presentation, right? And the flow of the list might change. Again, like Mike Dunn was here last week talking, we were talking about how you might sit down, ask them a question, and they just go off into like, oh, we lived here for 30 years and we saw my grandkids come and go and blah, 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 and they're going into the whole story. And it's not necessary for you to interrupt them and tell like, okay, but this is how much it's worth. Like, sometimes you just have to listen, right? Because they want to feel comfortable with you. They want to make that connection and feel like they trust you. So sometimes just listening, they just want someone to talk to sometimes, right? And if the last agent that came through was just bombarding them with information and they're just sitting there like, okay, 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 all right, well, so, and now you're sitting here talking to them and letting them tell their story or talk to you about their concerns. It can be as simple as that. You might not even have to show any of this other stuff because they just feel so comfortable with you that, well, so how much do you think it's worth? This much, okay, when can we start? Okay, sure, I'll sign, oh. So there's gonna be times when that's gonna happen, but you still wanna have a plan as to if that doesn't happen, how you want it to flow, and again, it might change. So be able to be fluid, be fluid enough to change on the fly. So you're gonna discuss the comparable properties. Again, we're gonna talk about, this is what the recent sale is closed for. This is the average price per square foot. So if you looked for properties about 200 square feet less than 200 square feet more, there's gonna be an average price per square foot. That doesn't mean that that's necessarily the same size as that particular subject property, right? So maybe the subject property is 2,000 square feet. The comps that we look for were from 1,800 to 2,200 square feet. And there's sales all throughout that square footage for 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, whatever it is. You're gonna use that price per square foot, average price per square foot, times the subject property square footage. That's one way of coming up with a price, right? Another way is average sold price. You can use that. Average sold price plus improvements. Maybe this house is fully upgraded. Maybe you want to add $15,000 to $20,000 to it, right? But the house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So if no one's willing to pay, you know, $500,000 over what the last sale was, then that's not the market price. The market price is set at whatever the market price is. So discuss comparables, and also, you want to discuss the days on market, right? So if it's priced right, it's gonna sell in approximately, according to the data, 15 days. Right? It'll be on the market for about 15 days. But if it's not priced right, as you can tell, there's still some sitting on the market for 3 months, they're not priced right. So, things to consider. Discussing pricing and timing strategy, again, this is the same thing. If you price it right, it's gonna sell faster. If you don't, and if there's upgrades and it looks better, yeah, of course, it's gonna probably sell faster. Discuss your marketing plan. So your marketing plan you should already have one, typed out or memorized as to what you're gonna do for them. Because before you even get to commission, you wanna tell them everything you're gonna do for them. You've already done the research for them. You've already asked them what their goals are. You've already discussed the pricing and timing strategy. Now you wanna talk about, what am I gonna do for you? I'm gonna list your property in the MLS for all the realtors to see. I'm gonna put the for sale sign up. I'm gonna hire a professional photographer to take pictures of your property. We're gonna do a Matterport 3D tour of your home, so that when we put it online, clients can click in it, be standing in the living room and click over here, and it'll move them to the next room, and they can see 360, all the way around. And I'm gonna take aerial shots. All this costs money, right? Of the neighborhood, just so people can see what the neighborhood looks like. I'm going to create property flyers so people can take them home with them when they come to the open house. I'm gonna make just listed postcards that I'm gonna send out to the neighborhood to announce your listing. I'm gonna send out an email to my office announcing the new listing. I'm gonna send an email out to a bunch of realtors in Orange County to promote the listing. I'm gonna promote it on social media. Like, all these things you're gonna do for them, you wanna have a list of everything, because even if it's the smallest thing, add it to the list, right? You wanna show them your value and everything that you're doing for them, so that when you do come to the commission talks, now, since you're telling them everything you're doing for them, are they gonna want a discount? Probably, but it's gonna be a little harder for them to negotiate that, because you're paying for all this. Then you sign the residential listing agreement. Again, this is where you bring up commission. Sometimes they want to go straight to commission. And the first thing they're gonna ask you is, before we get into anything, what do you charge? Right? What you can say is, well, let me tell you everything I'm gonna do for you before I tell you what I charge. And then you can go through everything, right? But if they say, no, we need to know right now, then that's gonna be up to you if you wanna say we charge 3% or 2.5%, whatever it is. And if they say, okay, no, thank you, you could do that. But I would tell them everything you're gonna do for them before you even get to that point. Try to avoid that, because you wanna show them your value. This is what the listing contract looks like. So remember, on the listing contract, we're not gonna go over the listing contract, but just wanna make sure that we emphasize that you have a beginning date and ending date on it. And then that we can't see it here, but at the bottom, what the percentage of commission is gonna be. And then who's the seller, who's the broker, so forth. We get it signed. I've seen some where it has this A1 section blank, beginning date and ending date. That is not a valid contract if it's blank. That has to be filled in. So make sure to fill everything that's required. And that's one of the required fields: the beginning date, ending date, the commission amount, who the contract's between, prepared date, and then the signatures, most importantly. Okay. So post listing agreement test. So now that you have the listing contract signed, these are some of the things you're gonna do. Schedule a photographer. And this is one of the photographers that most of our agents use, previewfirst.com. You go online, you create an account. It's free to create the account. And then when you're ready to, you got your listing, you're ready to place an order, you just go online, you, I guess you start the order, you tell them what the address is, and then they have different pricing. I think it's by square footage, so depending on square footage, you get certain pricing and so many photos for that price. And if it's a bigger home, it's gonna cost a little bit more, you get so many photos for that price. And then once you start adding features like the Matter Report, the 3D home view, that's gonna be an additional few $100s, and then aerial shots might be an additional $100, whatever it is. Anyway, you can go on there, select the different services that you want, and schedule it on a specific day, so make sure that you ask, going back to the listing presentation, ask the seller, what would be a good day, the best day for the photographer to come out and take pictures. You want them to get it ready in case it's not ready, right? Maybe a couple of days. So you go online, you schedule it. One thing that I missed, that I usually talk about during the listing presentation, but I didn't give that presentation last week, Mike did, is communication. Make sure that you, and I think we did, touch on it last week. When you're sitting down with the seller and they sign a listing contract, make sure that you understand how they want to be communicated. You make it clear, because some people just want to be communicated through text because they're working all day. Or maybe they're just younger, they don't like emails and phone calls, and just text me, text, right? Or do they just want to be emailed? Because again, they're at work all day and they don't want to sit on the phone. Or are they the type of person that wants a phone call? So, and make sure that when you communicate with them, that's how you communicate. Another thing is, let them know the time is of the essence, right? So if you get some offers, you have to reply within 3 days to the offer. Are you gonna counter it? Are you gonna accept it? Are you gonna say, no, I don't want it, don't even show it to me, based on the price? So let them know that when you send them an email, that they understand that they're gonna look at it, not right away, but within the timely manner, right? Because it's time sensitive. So now going back to this. So photographer, previewfirst.com. And there's other photographers, so if there's other agents here, you can go around and ask them who they use, and maybe they'll refer someone that they're using. But this is a pretty good one. And then this is when you can, again, take the opportunity to suggest removal of like any clutter, maybe all the magnets off the refrigerator. In some cases, some of the suggestions are take down all your family photos because, well, a few reasons, but one of the reasons is when a buyer comes into the home, they don't want to visualize someone else's family living here. They want to visualize them and their family living here. But so when they see your photos and your kids and your family, it's a little harder for them to personalize it. So just a suggestion. Oh, also, lock up any valuables. So if they have a jewelry box that they keep out with their gold earrings and necklaces and stuff like that, lock it up, because there's gonna be people going through the house, viewing the property, and that's, you're not responsible for that. So make sure that you tell them that. And after you tell them that, oh, and their medicine too, medications. If there's anything that's painkillers, things like that, put them away. And make sure to send an email reminding them that you told them this. Because if something happens and something's stolen or, missing, and they say, well, you never told me. I not only told you, but I sent you an email reminding you.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, make sure that you lock up all your valuables and blah, 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 right? Medication. So cover yourself. You can talk about staging options as well. If the home is vacant, maybe someone inherited the property and they're asking to sell it for them. Is it gonna probably bring more money offer wise if it's staged, if it looks nicer, or do you even have to do that, right? And then if so, will they be willing to pay for the staging fees? That's another thing where they might ask you, are you willing to pay for it? Well, it depends. Am I getting a full 3% commission? 3.5%? Maybe, if you can increase the commission that much, yeah. So that's something to consider. All right, so now adding the listing to the MLS. So this is something you have to do when you get the listing, right? Within 2 days of getting the listing, of the beginning date of the listing. And let me go back a little bit. On the listing contract, there's the preparation date. Let me go back so you guys can see that. The prepared date, this is a reference date only, right? If you're going to add any addendums to this listing contract, it's gonna say, this is an addendum to the listing contract dated this. So it's a reference date only. But the beginning date of the contract is gonna be either A1, where it says beginning date, or the last signature by the seller. whichever the later of the two, that is the beginning date of the contract. So if the beginning date on here says today's the 10th, October 10th, but they sign on the 12th, what's the beginning date? The 12th, the later of the two, right? Even though it says the 10th here, they signed on the 12th, how can it be the 10th if they haven't signed until the 12th, right? Vice versa, let's say beginning date on here says October 15th, but they sign it today. When's the beginning date? What's the later of the two? The 15th. So whatever, that's the easiest way to remember, the later of the two, beginning date or signature date. That will be the beginning contract date. So whatever that date is, the later of the two, it has to be in the MLS within 2 days of that date. So let's go back to that section. So what I would do, what I like to do is I search the MLS for a previous listing of that property. So at some point, these owners bought it from someone, right? Most likely. So there's gonna be a record of the MLS listing. I would look for that MLS listing, whether it was leased or sold or whatever, because it's gonna have information about the property. Information that you're gonna need to fill out the form portion of the MLS to submit this listing. And so, also look for other properties in the MLS within the same tract or the same street, because they might contain information that will be helpful when you're writing in information about the HOA or the amenities in the area or the schools, things like that. So anything that can help you, all the information, the more information you have, the better when you're entering the listing to the MLS. Have a copy of the property profile handy, because you're gonna need the AP number, a bunch of other things. Now you're gonna submit the listing to the MLS. Don't forget to add the showing instructions. So showing instructions are pretty much, if you want them to go direct, you can type in and go direct. There's an MLS, there's a lockbox on the front door. There's a section that allows you to enter that. Or contact agent to schedule an appointment. Or use showing time, which is an app that you can click on within the MLS that has a schedule of when what openings are available. And then when the agent schedules a certain time, then you, the listing agent, can approve it. Right? So again, know when, like, that's one of the discussions, the thing that came up, one of the discussions you're gonna have with the seller. Hey, are we able to do showings? What time during the week? What days during the week are you not available? Do you want me to be there? Like different things, right? So that if it's vacant, it's probably not gonna be a big deal, but if they're living there, they probably don't wanna be disturbed, so they don't wanna have showings between a certain time. Or maybe show it between, 2 and 5, whatever it is. Also add the listing to SkySlope. So SkySlope is our online transaction management system, where when you get a listing contract, within 2 days, just like with the MLS, you have to provide the broker a copy of that listing contract. Because remember, the listing belongs to the broker, not to you. You're representing them, but they're signing with the brokerage. So, yeah, so make sure that you add it to SkySlope. Right. Next, you want to install the for sale sign. And you guys see, like on this example of the picture of the for sale sign, it has a sign on the bottom. There's nowhere does it say for sale, right? But people associate that with the for sale sign. So if you wanted to, up on the top, these 2 little pegs on the top of there, that's where you would screw in the little sign right there that says for sale. If you wanted to, but it's not necessary. And also install the lockbox. And I want to show you guys what you're gonna have to do to install the lockbox. So I recommend that you practice opening lockboxes, because you're gonna have to put the key in here. So you're gonna open up the Super eKey app. And the first thing I wanna do is open this bottom tray to put the key in there. So I'm gonna click on my app and click on obtain key. And I'm gonna put in my 4-digit code. There you go, pops open. I'm gonna drop the key in here and lock it up. Now that the key's in here, now I need to attach this lockbox somewhere on the property. I don't know if you guys can see at home. Let me, take out of stop share. So now we want to open up the shackle, right? You guys see the shackle. How do we do that? How am I gonna put it on? I mean, here, it's easy, I can just wrap it like, but someone could just take it, right? So what you wanna do is if you have a door handle like that, you might wanna put it on a gate or something. But there's a button up here that says open shackle. And again, with this one, there's gonna be a code associated with the lockbox itself, not your personal code. What is it? I think that's it. Oh, I entered the right code. I did. It's not working. Here we go, you see that? It opens up. Now you can put it around the doorknob, not this particular one, but you can put it around the doorknob, lock it there, put it around the gate, just around the, the gate and lock it up. Lock it, and now nobody can take it. It's always gonna be there. So just wanted to show you guys how easy that is. And again, practice. When you guys show up to the lockbox and you're trying to open it, sometimes you have to wake it up. So this little tray on the bottom, you're just gonna push it up and you're gonna see this little red light blink. That means it's awake. And once that red light goes off, you can make sure your Bluetooth is on your phone because that's how it communicates. That's very important. And then one of the things that I talked to Zach about earlier today was he was asking about reception. What if you go to a place where there's no reception? Well, the app does not work using reception. It works using Bluetooth to connect to your phone. But if your app is not updated, which it's gonna happen when you least expect it, and you're in a place with no reception, when you launch the app, it's gonna say, oh, it's updating. And it's not gonna open until it updates, but if there's no reception, it's not gonna update, and if it's not updating, then you're not gonna be able to open the lockbox. So make sure, maybe on your checklist of things to do, before you install the lockbox or go show property, is update the app from home or from the office or wherever you're at. Before you go out, so that doesn't happen to you. But, so thanks for bringing that up, because that is an issue. Let's see. All right. So, any questions on that? Okay.
As a listing agent, we have to put a much picture about the property. Then as a buyer side, is it okay to also the picture of the listing to social media or?
You cannot.
um,
You can only post pictures of a listing with the permission of the owner. So you can't bypass the listing agent and go straight to the owner. And you can't really ask the listing agent unless they have permission from their client. But you can probably post photos from our office, from our listings, with the permission of the agents here. So you can do that. But you can't post any other agents from other offices' listings on your social media. Also, there's people that go around, agents that go around and video themselves, like for social media in open houses and listings.
Right.
You can't do that because you don't have the owner's permission to do that. And they're violating the rules. So I'm surprised that they don't get fined. People don't turn them in. Because,
I don't see much kids.
yeah, if I'm a homeowner, and let's say I told my agent, hey, I don't want any video because there's bad people out there. And then they go on these websites to look at the layout of the home. And when they see the layout of the home, now they know when they break in, which room to go to. Oh, I'm gonna turn right, and then the master bedroom's all the way at the corner, at the end to the left. That's where I'm trying to get to. So now I can move faster. Like sometimes owners, they don't want that. So then you go in during the open house and you're like recording and like, oh, hey, and by the way, here's the master bedroom. Look at all the jewelry they have out, like, yeah, so I would not do that. So now you're gonna begin to market the property. design a property flyer, you can use Moxie, or Listing Concierge. These are Coldwell Banker tools. And they have a bunch of different templates that you can use where you simply upload the photos, you type in the property address, the description, bedrooms, bathrooms, and then you can pick from the different templates they have available, and you download the PDF, and then you send it off to the printing company. Or if you have a printer at home, you can print it at home. You can send out mailers or postcards to the neighborhood announcing the listing. I think there might be some just listed postcards on there as well, templates for it. But as soon as you get the listing, and I don't know if I had this in the presentation, as soon as you enter into the MLS, what Moxie does, Moxie creates a whole marketing package for you, where they, based on the information you entered into the MLS, it'll create a flyer for you, it'll create a property website for you, it'll create an email that you can send out to your clients about the property. It'll create like a slideshow video that you can send out. I think it creates a just listed postcard. It creates a just listed social media post image that you can use for social media. So it does a lot of things for you. But it'll do that for you after it's in the MLS. But some of these things you're going to need before it hits the MLS, so you can start marketing it as soon as it hits the market. Social media, you want to start marketing this on social media. Email marketing. You can email it to your list of clients, to me, so I can send it to the agents in the office. There's some title companies that'll send it out to their network of agents.
Hey, Carlos, can I ask you a quick question on that? Is
Yeah.
there potential for us to market that to the greater Coldwell Banker Realty network?
There is. So thanks for bringing that up. So when you go to my CB desk, there's God, what is it called? It's called, let me log in to show you guys. Give me a second here. Exclusive look, I think is what it's called.
Yep, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yep.
Yeah, and what that does, you can enter a listing there. So and that's shared with any Coldwell Banker agent across the country, probably around the world, I would think.
Yeah, and I think the results are displayed based on your proximity to the area.
Yeah, so if someone's doing a search in that area, it'll come up. Okay, I'm glad I have my phone here with me. This is gonna call me. Okay. So, exclusive look. So you click on exclusive look, and then you can add a listing here. Let me show you where. My posts. So see how here is showing me a listing? It would look like this. So let me go back up to the top here. So you're gonna click on my posts, and then you're gonna add a listing right here. Or if you have a buyer that's looking for something, you can add a want or need, and then add what your buyer's looking for. And then that would show up here, your wants and needs. So yeah, this is where it would show up, and then you can do a search like I have Irvine, California. So anytime I log into this, it's going to show me any properties available in Orange, California. Irvine, California. And right now, there's only one listing there. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Do you know like approximately how many agents would be on this? Because it seems like it would have a large reach.
Everyone has this, every Coldwell Banker agent, but not everybody looks at it.
Yeah, unless
I don't
it's
know
like
how popular it is, or how many agents actually use it. I wish I had that data, but I don't know. Have you looked into this?
Well, I see them come in frequently, so sometimes I take a look to see who's selling stuff. Sometimes they have
Yeah.
like a global overseas one. So
So I'm
depending.
not sure if it's set up by default where it automatically emails you. And then you can opt out. Like I opted out of it because I would get emails from this all the time. But
Yeah.
you can set it so that you receive emails anytime somebody posts a listing on this. But I'm not
Yeah.
sure again, if it's set by default. Do you get emails from Exclusive Look? Do you get emails? You do?
Mhm.
Okay, so it might be just set up by default where you're just going to receive things from it. So that might be the answer there. Maybe it automatically goes out to everybody unless you opt out of it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Carlos. I appreciate it. I think I've been
Yeah.
using that as this like an additional selling point, saying, yeah, we have a local office in Orange County, but this is also goes out to our extended network, which is the realty one. So I just wanted to make sure I know how to do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So now, let's see, where were we here? I think this is where we were. All right, so if you plan on holding an open house, you can ask a title company, right, to provide some shoe covers and a flyer stand. I know that whatever title company you use, they're gonna provide shoe covers. Nowadays, a lot of the homeowners say either take off your shoes or wear shoe covers, 'cause I don't wanna clean the carpet or the floors or anything like that, right? And then the flyer stand to put your flyers in. And advertise the open house to the neighbors. So, and then we're gonna have a class on how to do an open house and how to schedule for an open house and all that. But advertise, you're gonna go around to the neighborhood, probably not either the day before or that same morning and invite some of the neighbors over. Because usually that's who comes in first, the neighbors. It's always like, I've been dying to see what this house looks like inside, right? That's typically what they say. I was holding an open house for a lease listing that I had here in Columbus Grove. And it's a really nice looking house from the outside. And a bunch of neighbors are coming through and I'm like, yeah, this is our favorite house on the block. We've always wondered what it looked like inside. So, it's just have looky-loos, but still. Add the open house date and time to the MLS listing for other agents to find it, but it also feeds off into Realtor.com, Zillow, and all the other portals. So make sure you add it into the MLS by no later than Wednesday, because sometimes it'll take a couple of days to populate to all the other websites. Yeah, so make sure that that's on there. And go on Zillow to make sure that it shows the open house. Because that's where a lot of buyers are going to look for homes. Next thing is, make sure that you complete your agent visual inspection. This is something each agent's gonna need to do. The listing agent has to do their own, and the buyer's agent has to do their own when, their offer gets accepted. So this is a good time to do all this stuff while the listing is still in process of being, launched. These are things you wanna have done like right now, right? And again, just to touch on this, the agent visual inspection is exactly what it says it is. It's just a visual inspection of the property. You're not an inspector. That's not your profession. That's not what you do for a living. What you're simply doing is you're walking around the house to see if there's any deficiencies. If there's a broken window, if there's a hole in the wall, if there's a tear in the carpet. Your job is not to turn off and on all the light switches or, check all the faucets or check for leaks under the sink or to move the couch or behind the stove. That's not what a visual inspection is. It's when you walk into the room, is there anything that you see that's broken, torn, or, anything like that, right? And if there is, just write it down. There's a hole in the wall. And again, the less descriptive, the better, because we had a risk management attorney out here. I think we have them out every year that says that there's a lot of cases where the agents write down, oh, there was a water stain in the ceiling. And they get put on the stand and they say, well, how do you know it was a water stain? Did you see water dripping onto it? Well, no, then why did you say it's a water stain? Well, it's yellow, what else is it gonna be? Yeah, but you don't know that it's water that caused it. Maybe it was something else, maybe someone spilled, I don't know, maybe it was something that leaked from the ceiling through, whatever, it could be something totally different. It was coffee, somebody spilled coffee in the ceiling, I don't know.
Champagne bottle burst.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. So, and then if you're in the bathroom and you see black dots or, stains, don't say it's mold. Just say there's a black stain on the ceiling or black dots on the ceiling. Don't ever say it's mold because you're not a mold expert, and then that's something that can be called into question, if you ever go to court. And they're gonna ask you, are you an expert? And they're gonna make you look stupid. And, take away any credibility. So, again, if there's a hole in the wall, just say, there's a small hole in the wall right next to the window in the conference room. There's a tear in the entrance of the conference room or the main bedroom. And if there is no deficiencies, defects in the room, still write something, because in the agent visual inspection report or disclosure, there's a, kind of like a section for each, like a bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, living room, kitchen, dining room, garage, exterior. So for bedroom 1, if there's nothing, it's just bedroom and there's a space, so then you're gonna write 1. And then I like to describe downstairs bedroom. No defects noted, no deficiencies noted. So even if there's nothing there, you should still write something because you were there. What some agents do is, they make the mistake of just taking inventory. Oh, there's a ceiling fan and a fireplace in the living room. That's not what this form is for. It's for deficiencies. Maybe if you say there's a broken ceiling fan, okay, and the fireplace has broken bricks on it or something, then you can write that in. Otherwise, just no defects noted, no deficiencies noted. And then again, label each room, upstairs bedroom closest to the stairs to the left. Right, that's bedroom 2, and then no defects noted, or broken window, or whatever. So, again, that's all it is, but you're required to do this, and the sooner you get this out of the way, the better. Any questions on this?
Can you change it later on? Because like if they have their pictures up and then you do your avid,
Well,
and then
because,
they take down the pictures and then you see a hole behind them.
but there's a date on here that you did the inspection.
Oh, okay.
So that's where you're gonna go by.
Okay.
Right, so at the time of your inspection, that, you didn't see that.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Okay. Next is send out the seller's disclosures for the seller to answer. There's a couple of forms where they have to answer questions about the property. And then a bunch of other forms that just require the signatures. And I suggest that you get everything right away, like as soon as the listing starts. Like, while you're getting everything ready. Even if it goes live today, just try to get all those documents signed as soon as possible, because the sooner you have them, that's one less thing you have to worry about, right? Once you accept an offer, you can send those out right away the same day. And then now, everything moves along much faster. There's times where you go live and then you send forms to the seller and they're still taking their time to get them signed and filled out and answered and signed. And then now you get an offer accepted, right? And then you're still waiting for the seller to sign these things, but you have to send them off within the first 7 days. You have to send them off to the buyer. And sometimes the seller's taking their time, they're like, oh, it's the 8th day, they're still not signed. It's like, hey, we need these right away. So instead of chasing them down, it's better to have everything signed right now, filled out and signed and ready to go, right? That way first of all, you'll have less to do during the transaction for you to do more marketing and, maybe deal with another buyer or seller. But also, you're not chasing these things down. Let's see. So now you're gonna host the open house. Now that you scheduled the open house, right? Now it's time to host the open house. You're gonna put out your signs. For the open house, this is something new that we added to this presentation. So you guys, it's our first, you guys are the first ones.
Yeah.
The 3 different forms that you're gonna want at the open house are the open house visitor non-agency disclosure. This is pretty much a sign-in sheet. Rich talked about it on Tuesday. It's a sign-in sheet that says that you either have an agent or there's no agency between you and me. I'm the listing agent. You come in, you're gonna look at the property. You're gonna sign in here saying that nothing that I tell you is gonna be used against me or saying that, oh, we have a relationship. No, because you signed here that we have no relationship. Anything that I share with you is strictly to benefit my seller. And anything you tell me, I'm gonna share with the seller. So when you come back and submit an offer, I'm gonna say, oh, they can go higher, they told me they can, they're willing to go, whatever. So that's what that is. The other form, another form is the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. This is a form that you're gonna sign with the buyer, right? That there's a time frame, no more than 3 months. It's a contract between you and the buyer that, if you check the exclusive box, that's what you wanna do. Binds them to pay you whatever percentage you two agree to, them to pay you if they close on a property. And this is for any property within either city or county or whatever you entered in the contract within those 3 months. And so you can have them sign that when they come and say, hey, I can talk to you about the property. I can even help submit an offer for you, but you're gonna have to sign this contract first. Or you can use the third option, which is the property showing representation agreement, which allows you to list up to 3 properties on there. So it limits it to those 3 properties. And what you can do is you could just write in the address of that property on the contract and the dates from and till, right, the expiration date of it, and how much they're gonna pay you if they submit an offer on this property. So this is a little easier for a buyer to swallow because now they're not tied into you for the whole county. They're only tied into you for this property. So if you want to submit an offer on this, Mr. Buyer, we could have you sign this contract, which only binds you to me for this property and no other property. So if you submit an offer, I'm gonna submit for you, you're gonna pay me a commission, but guess what? It's also still negotiable. We can probably try to get the seller to pay for some of that commission. So that's an option. So those are the 3 different forms. Do you guys have any questions? Was it clear or?
That was the last one, right? The
Yeah.
property showing and representation agreement?
Yeah.
That's just for that property?
Yes, but on the second one, on the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, there's also a section where you can check a box where it's for a specific property. Right, but. Yeah, the last one is probably better for that particular situation when you're doing an open house, holding an open house. So anybody at home, do you guys have any questions on these 3 forms?
Did
Yes,
you say something about 3 properties, adding up to 3 properties?
yeah, on the property showing on the last one,
Uh-huh.
there's spaces for 3 properties.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah, you don't have to use all 3 spaces, but,
what if you don't know what the properties are yet, like, that you're gonna show?
well, you would only use this form if you knew what properties you were showing.
Oh, okay,
So let's say you're gonna show someone 3 properties this weekend. And they don't wanna sign a contract with you, but they'll sign a contract with you for those 3 properties you're gonna show them today.
Okay.
You can write those properties in and show them the
if you have it.
properties,
Yeah.
and if they wanna submit an offer, you're gonna submit an offer for those 3 properties for them.
You have to know where you,
Yes,
it's not like,
yeah,
keep going.
yeah, that's why for the,
Technical, so you
well,
don't-
that's why for the open house, you're entering just that particular address, yeah. Anybody at home? Oh, you guys are so smart. Probably because we've covered this so much for the last few months. Okay, let's move on. So then, after you hold the open house and you've had a bunch of showings and everything, now you're gonna present all offers and review them with the seller. Present all offers. There's a form on the MLS called the summary of multiple offers. So this is one way you can present it, where you're gonna have to fill this in, and it puts all the offers side by side. You write in the information, so you can see there, purchase price, deposit, loan amount, how many days close of escrow, how many days is the escrow gonna be? What the contingency periods are for the loan, appraisal, because sometimes you're gonna get an offer where it's gonna be cash. Right, so there's no loan, or the contingency period is reduced to 10 days or 7 days. And then you're gonna see them side by side and it's easier for them to look through the offers and compare them side by side. Than it is for them to print out each one of the offers or look at them on their computer and everything. Here's all the main, I guess the main terms of the contracts. I think this is a pretty cool way of presenting the offers. I mean, you're also gonna email them the offers, but send this summary along with it. Who likes that? Anybody? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's easy to look at.
time to accept an offer or send out counter offers. But ultimately, we accepted an offer. Wasn't that the best feeling? To accept an offer?
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah. After everything, right? So after accepting an offer, you're now ready to open escrow. What is this? What does that mean? So you're probably already gonna have an escrow company in mind, Sterling Escrow, right? And you're gonna email escrow a copy of the contract, fully executed contract with any counteroffers or addendums. And you want to include the seller's contact information. And then escrow will email you with anything else that they need, right? So then what escrow is gonna do, and I don't know if I have that on the next slide or not. Let me go back to this one. Escrow is gonna send an email out to the seller. And they're also gonna email out, they're gonna email escrow instructions to the seller. They're gonna email or reach out to the buyer's agent. They're gonna reach out to the buyer and they're gonna email the buyer the wire instructions to send their deposit, to wire their deposit to. And if you're on the buyer side, I can't stress this enough, make sure that you let your buyer know that when they receive the wire instructions from escrow, that they reach out to the escrow company over the phone to confirm the account number that the money's being wired to. This is where fraud occurs. There's people that are just waiting to intercept some of these emails, or kind of like just jump in and send the email to make it look like they're the escrow company. And they have the same, they put the logo on the email and the signature looks the same and everything just looks exactly like the escrow company. And then they send a different account number for the buyer to send the wire money to, or wire the money to. And guess what? When the buyer just, okay, that's where I'm supposed to wire it to, they wire it, the money's gone. You're never gonna see it again. So make sure that if you are, I know this is for the listing side, but if you are working with the buyer, make sure that you tell your buyer to contact escrow to confirm that account number. So anyway, let's move on. So now the escrow is open. Remember all those seller disclosures I told you about that you want to fill out right away? The questionnaires and the signatures and everything, along with your ABID form. You're gonna send all that to the buy side, to the buyer's agent, for their clients to review and sign. And then once they review it and sign it, they're gonna email back to you fully executed. Order the termite inspection. If the seller agreed to a termite inspection, usually that's asked for within the purchase contract, and most buyers are asking for the seller to pay for a termite inspection report and section 1 clearance. So if they did ask for it and the seller did agree to pay for it, so you're responsible now to order that termite inspection. So what you can do is you can contact a couple of different companies, find out what it costs, contact the seller, say, hey, these are the different prices. Do you want to go with any one in particular? They're gonna say whichever one you think is best, or whichever one's cheaper. You know, it's usually one or the other. They hardly ever say, use this company, because this is what I've used before, but once in a while they might. So if they did agree to it, then you have to order the termite inspection. I would do it like the next day, order the inspection, and then as soon as they can show up, but you do want to make sure that you coordinate with the seller for a day that they're okay with. So maybe they want to be there, they don't want to be there. And if during this time, the buyer does their inspection, regular property inspection, and there's some things that they want repaired, and if the seller agrees to repair anything, they have to make sure to complete all the repairs they agreed to make 5 days prior to closing. That doesn't mean that's when they have to do it. They have until that day to do it, because that's when the buyer goes through the property for the final walkthrough to make sure that all the repairs that they agreed to are done, or that the property's in the condition they agreed to. Any questions? And again, I know you guys love this transaction timeline. I like bringing it up. So this is what the 30-day escrow looks like. On the left, I keep forgetting to add the day 0. So 0 is all the way to the left of the 1 here at the bottom. So that's acceptance, 0. And then the next day is day 1. So if the contract is accepted today, And again, acceptance is the day the accepted contract was delivered. If it was signed yesterday, but delivered today, today is the acceptance date, not the day it was signed.
The delivery day.
The day it was delivered. So like if the buyer, let's say the buyer sends the seller the offer, let's say the seller agrees to it, they signed it yesterday. They agreed to it yesterday, but the agent emails it out today to the buyer side, the acceptance, then today's the acceptance, not yesterday. If he signed, the seller signed it yesterday and we emailed it out yesterday, then yesterday's the acceptance date. That make sense? Okay, so the day it was delivered. Because it could have been signed last Saturday, but delivered today. Today's acceptance, because it was delivered today. All right, good, so. Let's see. This kind of tells you what the seller needs to do, right? So, let's go to the first 3 days. So this, if the property's in a trust, the seller needs to provide evidence of their capacity to sign on behalf of the trust to escrow. And title, I guess, and so they have within 3 days to provide that. The seller should have requested the HOA docs, and usually that's done through escrow. Let your seller know that they're gonna have to pay for the HOA docs. It's usually a few $100s. It could be $200 to $500 for escrow documents. But that has to be paid for upfront, so that's a cost that's gonna be upfront to the seller. So let them know that, and then again, that's gonna be ordered through escrow, so escrow is gonna ask the seller to send a payment in, or probably refer them to the website where they can order it. I'm not sure exactly what they do. So let's see, now, within the first 7 days, the seller should have already sent the seller's disclosures. Remember I told you guys, send it right away, day one? So that way you don't have to worry about it then. Send it day one, so that way you have a bunch of free days to not have to do anything on the transaction, right? Seller notice if property located notice. So of course, if it's an HOA, the HOA docs have been ordered, seller just preliminary title report. So the preliminary title report is gonna be ordered through escrow. So this goes to the transfer. The seller should notify the buyer if there's any leased items, solar panels, things like that. Delivers affidavit on for status for tax purposes, but you've already sent that along with your seller's disclosures. Okay, so you're good. So by day 7, you've already completed everything from what we've discussed. But again, get all the seller's disclosures out as soon as possible, day 1, day 2. Just you don't want to worry about that later on. Because the longer you take to deliver them to the buyer, the longer they have to review those documents. Example. Let's say Sonia has a listing, just hypothetical, and her seller didn't sign the disclosures until day 14, the seller's disclosures, and answer the questions on those forms. And it's emailed out on the, let's say she emails it out on the 15th to the buyer's agent. Well, on the contract, the buyers agreed to remove all of their contingencies on the 17th day. You can't hold them to that anymore, because at least not for the seller's disclosures portion of their contingencies, because they have heard the default language on the contracts, 5 days to review any disclosures, the seller's disclosures. So that kind of extends the period. It not kind of does, it does. So now you're looking at, if it's delivered on the 15th, so now they don't have to remove contingencies for that until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until the 20th. So now that extends the removal of contingencies for that particular item. Let's say the seller doesn't send the termite report until the 15th day. So the buyer doesn't have to remove contingencies again until the 20th. Because they just got that report. Or maybe the preliminary title report wasn't sent out until the 15th day. That just extends the contingency period. And what does that mean? That when the contingency period is extended, that means it's more time that the buyer has to cancel. Right? So let's say everything was delivered right here on day 1 or day 2. And you got the termite inspection and you sent it to them by the 5th or 6th or 7th day. And then they did their inspections, did everything, they got the preliminary title report, they got everything, right? So now you have all this time from like day 8, 9, 10. They have to review and all this and get them back to you. And then they have to remove their contingencies by the 17th day. That means they're saying, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, we are happy with everything that we read, or we acknowledge that whatever issues there are or aren't. So now we're not gonna cancel for any reason. We can't cancel for any reason. So we're signing this document saying now we can't cancel, we're back out of it. But just because they said in the contract that they're gonna remove contingencies on the 17th day, that doesn't mean they have to. They could just say, not say anything, and then you're like waiting for them, and you're emailing the buyer's agent, hey, are you gonna send over the removal of contingencies? They can be like, oh, yeah, I'll send it over to my buyer, they're gonna sign it, I'll send it to you. And then it's the 18th day, they haven't removed them. Can the seller cancel? No. Because they haven't removed contingencies. So the seller cannot cancel throughout this whole entire process. Unless the seller gives a notice to buyer to perform. And this is, so let me back this up. Let's say we're on day 15. The buyer's supposed to remove contingencies on day 17. Buyer has all of these forms and reports and everything, disclosures from the seller. Okay, that you gave to them early on. And now I'm gonna protect my seller and give them an out if they want to cancel. This is the only way they can cancel. We're gonna send the buyer a notice to the buyer to perform to remove contingencies. The earliest you can send this to them is 2 days before the performance date of that action, right? So removal of contingencies is day 17. You can send this notice 2 days before that. If you send it 3 days before, it's not valid. You can send it 2 days before or 1 day before, but then that extends it to the 18th day. So 2 days, right? Gives them 2 days. So let's say I'm gonna send it on the 15th. And usually the buyer's agents freak out. Why are you sending this to me? Does your seller want to cancel? Like, don't freak out. So what I do is I'll send an email to the agent or give them a call. Hey, I'm gonna send you notice for form to remove contingencies. Don't freak out. This is just company policy. This is to protect my seller. Seller's not wanting to cancel, just protection. So then they're not freaked out when they receive it. And they send it to them, and they can relay that to their buyer, but it also gives the buyer a sense of urgency, like, oh, hey, what if they want to cancel? Let's remove contingencies now when we're supposed to. So this will kind of get a light started under them, right? They might remove it on the 17th day, but if they don't, let's say the seller receives another offer or has more interest. Someone that wants to pay cash and more. Now the seller can cancel. You just gave them that option to cancel, that opening. But if you don't do that, you're not giving them an opening to cancel throughout the transaction. So it's important I like to do that. There's a lot of agents that are like, no, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to send it out, but I like to do it. You have to protect your client. And if it's going smooth, you might not have to, but you just don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so that's the only way that the seller can cancel. But the buyer has all this time to cancel. As long as they don't remove contingencies, you could be on day 25. If they don't remove their contingencies, they can cancel. Right? You don't want that. So, let's see, 5 days prior to closing, let's say day 25 here, all the repairs must be complete that the seller agreed to make. If there's tenants living in the property, the tenants have to be out by that time. Let's see. 3 days prior to closing is the earliest the seller or buyer may give a demand to close escrow. So one of the sides thinks that the other side might not close on time. You can send out a demand to close escrow. That's another out for the seller. Right? If the buyer doesn't close by when they're supposed to, then the seller can cancel. That was exhausting. Any questions? I mean, there's no confusion at all?
Oh, I have a
That must be
question.
really clear if that's,
So if The disclosures are sent late,
Yeah.
like a few days later, because they're reviewing them.
Now, what's late?
After the 15th, wait, so the disclosures are supposed to be sent on the 7th day, right?
Before, within the
Or
first
before,
7 days.
yeah. So they're sent and it should be returned right away. Should it be day 17?
Yeah.
The disclosures,
Well, they have 5 days to review it.
so it's always 5 days, that was my question.
Well, they have 5 days to review it. I don't think that they have to send it to you, but you can give them a notice to perform. On the day 15 to send back the signed documents.
So it's always 5 days to review.
Yeah, no less than 5 days to review. So, yeah, so if you give it to them on the day 17, it extends their contingency period for that particular item by 5 days.
Okay. I just wanna know if it was like.
So you wouldn't be able to give them notice to perform and then cancel because they still have 5 days
Right.
to review it. Yeah. You look like you have a question.
It's all confusing. It's all.
Tell me,
new.
tell me what are you thinking?
Only one buyer can open escrow.
Yes. Yes,
Cause there are lots of possibility to cancel it,
Yes.
so.
you can have backup offers.
Oh, that,
So the seller can accept a backup offer if they want to. But the buyer second buyer has to be willing to be sitting in that second position. But yeah, so hopefully you guys pick the right buyer, right? That's not just throwing a bunch of offers out there. Because sometimes there's buyers that do that. They'll submit offers at 2 or 3 different properties. And then like they'll try to negotiate with each of them and then just cancel and keep the one that they want to move forward with. But that still means they have to leave deposits at every single one of them, right? They get the money back. They cancel for the, I guess a valid reason and without removing their contingencies. But
What would be a valid reason to cancel? After making a
Anything.
deposit? Oh, okay.
and so they can just state, what is it, there's a portion of the contract that pretty much gives you for investigation of the property, investigation, reviewing the reports, maybe there's something in the reports you didn't like, maybe something about the property you didn't like. Maybe you got the physical inspection of the property, you saw something that needs to be fixed that you're like, I don't even want to deal with that, so I don't want to move in. There could be like neighbors with dogs all around you and they're just barking all day and all night and you didn't know that until you went back a couple of times and you're like, I don't want that, right? Or it could be, train passes too much and you didn't really know that that was the case. And it's like a block from your house. And you thought it was just in the morning and in the afternoon, but it runs like every 30 minutes. So it could be different
Pretty
reasons.
much anything.
Yeah. There's, the smell of the house or the neighborhood. It could be just anything. Anybody at home have any questions? Nobody, huh? Okay. And I guess we'll call it quits here. And if you guys have any questions, I think that's the end of it. Let me see. Yep, it's questions. All right, we'll see you guys next week then.
thank you, Dr.
Thank you.